right, we're going to bring our next storyteller up. I've gotten to work with him quite a bit, and it started in Elmhurst with the program that Kim put together last year. We were doing a show at the American Legion with veterans, and we got a phone call the night before, and someone said, there's a gentleman who would like to join you. And we hadn't met, and I thought, well, we have space, let's see what happens. I mean, I don't know, but it's going to be all right. And it was more than all right. He was an amazing addition to our cast, and he has begun in his 95th year to tell his stories all over Chicago. He just had a paid gig last month. So I'd like to tell people he's one of the newer storytellers I know, and he's 95. But we're so excited to have him up here. He's a World War II veteran, born in Chicago and now living in an Elmhurst retirement community. He has 3 sons and 4 grandchildren and holds degrees in electrical engineering and mathematics from the Illinois Institute of Technology. He worked for the International Harvester and Borg Warner corporations, mostly as an industrial engineer. And late in life, he's been cajoled, threatened, and forced by his grandchildren to write a war memoir. Please put your hands together for Marvin Sussman!
I guess I misunderstood what this evening was about. I thought it was, what is America to me?
Yeah.
But nobody seems to have dealt with the question, just except obliquely, yes, but not directly. At any rate, if I had known that it was just general storytelling, I would have told you some of my Cook County Hospital stories. Like the time I was mugged and spent Saturday night in the emergency ward at Cook County Hospital, which is like a war zone. And, or I could tell you the time that one of my tenants tried to commit suicide, and I had to drive her to Cook County Hospital and they took care of her. And, but we had to wait for a psychiatrist or psychologist to talk to her, and then I had to translate Spanish. Sí, hablo un poco español, muchos años que no hablo bastante mal. Hablo mucho español.
Very good.
So not being able to write all that, I put this together. So anyway, it could be interesting. What makes what is America to me? Okay, what makes one nation different than others? It's not only language or religion or dress or food or other items of culture. It's rather the sum of all of these items integrated into the nation's culture over many generations. That sum of cultural traits is defined by the word ethnicity. A nation's ethnicity is like an individual's personality. It is that which distinguishes that nation from all other nations. And like a personality, an ethnicity develops and grows and changes with time, the change being far more rapid in the case of the individual than for a nation. So, a nation's ethnicity is relatively stable over the life of that nation's individuals, unless there are dramatic events like conquest by another nation or an environmental disaster or any other major disruption in a nation's history. In most of human history, ethnicity changed slowly. But the history of the United States of America is an exception to that rule. Our ethnicity began suddenly with the landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock. And with the arrival every year since then of immigrants from all over the world, our ethnicity changed with a fair amount of rapidity until late in the 20th century, when American culture began to spread all over the world, so that immigrants now come inoculated with elements of our culture. Now we have reached a point in the development of American ethnicity such that, although we have almost a dozen regions of slightly different ethnicities, we can manage to distinguish Americans from foreigners. With slower immigration, our changes in culture, and therefore in ethnicity, will be induced more by scientific progress than by immigration, and those changes will be common to all nations. The development of American ethnicity occurred through the process of the melting pot. Immigrants from different nations living next to each other with resulting intermarriage and children of mixed foreign ethnicities. After a half dozen generations of such melting, we have created an American ethnicity, which is fairly stable during the life of an individual. It is true that the term multicultural is used in political discussions, but what that means is not clear. Yes, we have small minorities of Native Americans who, for excellent reasons, are trying to maintain their distinct cultures, but the term is not in question is not used for their case. Does the term multicultural refer to our black community, or to our gay community, our Appalachian community, or any other cultural community? Apparently not. Yes, Texas is a distinctly different region than Maine and Vermont with different speech patterns, but they both enjoy the same sports, entertainment, education, even politics. Perhaps our most severe cultural difference is rural versus urban. This involves speech pattern, race, jobs, politics, and maybe entertainment. But the term multicultural is not used in that sense. There are also our religious differences, Catholic, evangelical, etc. But we have always had these differences and have mostly buried the hatchet. Intermarriage among religious communities is common, and the term multicultural is not used in that sense. Often the term multicultural is used with two other terms, inclusion and diversity. These terms are rarely defined, but there has been one ironic statement about these two terms. Inclusion means bringing the stranger into our midst, and diversity means make sure that the stranger remains a stranger. If multiculturalism is simply stopping the melting pot from melting, it is doomed to failure, and we need not be concerned with it. Apparently, those who complain about multiculturalism are impatient about the speed of melting, sounding like they want the pot to melt faster. Lots of luck. We will have to wait for a better definition of multiculturalism before we can deal with it. But until then, Americans may differ according to region and their histories, but we recognize each other as Americans when we meet in Europe or elsewhere. When we had a military draft, Americans from every corner met across the dining table for the first time together, and it changed each of us for the better. There's no better way to cure all our political ills than that of living together for at least a year, finding out why we have our individual beliefs and customs, how we arrive at our opinions, what bothers us, what pleases us. Certainly nothing can replace the experience I had during training for combat in the hills of South Dakota, in California's Mojave Desert, and the Red River Valley, with Americans from every region. The most beneficial move our government could make would be to bring back the draft. Above all, we are a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. We have struggled since our founding with adhering to that proposition, but we are constantly getting better at it. Indeed, it is that very struggle itself that makes America different than most other nations. We argue more openly about our problems and our faults than do most of the world. We are a people locked in internal combat, a struggle that so far has always led to improvement in our lives. In fact, the rest of the world watches our political struggle as though their lives depended on the outcome, and they may be right. For them, America is the elephant in the room. So, what is America to me? It is a people with a unique ethnicity despite our regional differences, our rural-urban differences, and our political differences. As Frank Sinatra sang, especially the people, that's America to me. America is something new and unique. America is something worth keeping. America is worth fighting for. Let each one do their part and we will survive.